We are with Daryl King at Sharing in the Mindsets with my good friend and one of my closest for leadership. This is who you want to listen to, our good friend, Richard Robbins. So welcome to another exciting episode of Sharing the Mindsets. Today, we're honored to have Richard Robbins, who's down in Florida with us right now. He's the co-founder and CEO of Richard Robbins International, global real estate coaching organization. He's empowered countless agents and leaders worldwide through innovative sales and business training solutions. Richard began his real estate career at 24 in the little lovely town of Peterborough. He quickly rose to the top of the 1%ers in real estate. He's also an international speaker, author of Deliver the Unexpected and 6 other new truths for business success. Please join me in welcome Richard Robbins. Woo!
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you very much.
Not going to take Papa's job away there. Dana's, right?
Exactly.
So we've got an hour, so let's push through this. So navigating 2025 real estate market, we've gone through lots of things, but I don't think pretty much any of us gone through tariffs. So, we have market shifts. The real estate market is constantly evolving. What key trends do you see shaping the industry in 2025? And how can agents stay ahead of the game?
Well, first of all, as you know, Daryl, you probably do this better than anybody, but don't get caught up in the drama, man. Like, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of things going on right now. We had a liberal leadership race. We've got a federal election. Supposedly, they're talking about April 28th, but we'll see. We've got Donald Trump and tariffs happening. And right now, I think our market in 2025 is being affected greatly by lack of consumer confidence. Yes. And everybody's very, very worried. But saying that, I think what we have to do is we've got to be bigger than that problem. And what I mean by that is that if we all get caught up in the drama, in the emotional roller coaster of things going up and down, then what ends up happening is we become unproductive as well. And that doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve our families, and it definitely does not serve our customers. So what I've been saying to everybody is that if we go back, and let's just take a step back for a minute. 9/11, you remember 9/11, Daryl?
Oh, of course.
We got through that okay.
Earlier. Yes.
We got through that okay, right? How about 2008 financial crisis? We got through that okay. How about COVID? We got through that okay. So this is just another blip. And we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I tend to believe tariffs are going to work themselves out. So what I'm saying to everybody is this. We need to not get caught up in the drama, and we need to avoid as much of the negative press as we possibly can. People are going to be talking about it everywhere you go, but you've got to try to avoid that, and you got to focus on your job, get your job done. And not only that, think about this, Daryl, right now. If you're worried, or people are worried, that probably means your clients are concerned as well. And I think to myself, there couldn't be a better time to be reaching out to people and just having conversations. Like, what a great opportunity. You got something to talk about, right? Find out what they're thinking, find out what their real estate needs are and things like that. So it's a great opportunity for those that work.
We had a little bit of meeting beforehand. And I said, there's great opportunities for great leaders and great agents that want to show up every single day.
Yeah.
And during COVID, we remember see the growth of the people. Lots of people just fell by the wayside and other ones just exploded. So this is very much like that in 2008 and 2009, where markets crashed. Listen, as Richard and I have been around for a long time, and the one thing that we've always seen is we've seen dips and highs. And the market may come down, as I tell people, but in the long run, it's going to come back up. So don't be a sheep, be the leader, be the one that takes action and makes it happen. Now, some people are concerned about their jobs.
Yes.
Maybe they got to take the sideline, but not everybody's going to lose their job.
Right?
Yeah. So what about mindset for success? With uncertainty in the market, what mindset shifts do agents need to adopt to not just survive, but to actually thrive?
I think we got to cut out the negativity. Like it's funny. They say the average human being has 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of our thoughts are habitual. So we tend to think the same way day in and day out. However, I think we would all agree that our input determines our output, right? And it's what we're putting into our minds every day. So an example, instead of, reading the news or scrolling your feeds, start reading more positive stuff. Like, listen to positive podcasts, listen to music.
Richard.
Yeah. And if I think that's the number one thing. See, if you think about it, your brain is an interesting thing because your brain is designed to keep you alive, right? That's the number one objective of your brain is to keep you alive. That's why if you start walking across the road and there's a car coming at you, your brain will very quickly indicate to you, you got to run, man. You got to get the hell out of the way. So if that is the case, our brain is attracted to the negative because it appears as a threat to your brain, and your brain wants to keep you alive. So what ends up happening is you get attracted to the negative, and you keep seeing all the negative, and that is more attractive than the positive because your brain's trying to protect you. But the whole thing is, it's like reading the news. Your brain doesn't need that. Like, what's it protecting you from? So what we have to do is we just got to, change it. And not only that, I think taking action. I always say when any market starts to change, I talk about the company all the time. I always say, this is our time, folks. This is our time. This is our time. Let's go. Let's get our asses to work, right? Because our customers need us more than ever before. But if I'm focused on me, if I'm focused on my own self-preservation, if you will, then I'm not focused on the customer. And the minute you start to look outside of yourself, right, and get in touch with people, send people messages, text and emails and DMs and all that sort of stuff, they just say, hey, how you doing? A lot of crazy stuff going on right now. Just wondering how you doing. How's your family doing? And get outside of yourself and give of yourself to other people. Guess what? Your mindset completely changes and puts you in a good space.
I love the mindset. I work on that every single day. So adapting to change. And I know like we talked about, you just said about habitual and, 63,000 thoughts run through our mind every single day. And it's what you put into your mind is most crucial. So you've coached some of the top agents for decades now. What separates those who struggle from those who are consistently winning and being at the top in these tough markets?
It's the little things they do every day, Daryl. Come on. You and I have known each other for a long time. We go back to, old Mike Ferry days, probably 30 years ago. And what did you and I do every single day of the week?
Get up every day and look for some of these ones, buy, sell, or invest. That's it.
Prospect for business, right?
That's it. Prospect.
I did that. You did that. I remember like our inner circle did that. All the people we used to sort of hang with. And you say, well, what was the difference between you and a lot of the other agents? Well, guess what you're doing every day?
Doing it.
You're doing the real work.
The right mindset.
Not the busy work. You're doing the real work, man. You're right there. And, and in all fairness, I think COVID maybe caused some agents to get a little bit lazy because we did 667,000 sales in 2021. It was unbelievable. Record year by far. And then, 2022 wasn't all bad, right? And so what ended up happening was we sort of got used to this market where leads were just, showing up every day. It was just happening. Like you didn't have to motivate a buyer back in the day because they knew that there's going to be multiple offers. So you didn't need to motivate them, let's go. Hey, I found your house. Okay, right? Let's go. You couldn't underprice a house.
No, impossible.
It was impossible, right? You could price it at zero. So what skill did it take? So I think when it comes to adapting to change, and that's what we're doing right now, we're dealing with a changing market. If you look at sales across Canada, we're down 10% in February over the February before. Listings were up 13%. Inventory right now across Canada, about 4.7 months of inventory. A long time since we've had 4.7 months of inventory.
A long
right?
time.
So if you think about 4.7 months of inventory, that means that we're in a marketplace right now where roughly 1 out of 5 homes are going to sell every month, right? If it's 1 out of 5, if you got, 5 months of inventory. So that means 1 out of 5. That means 20% right now of the inventory is going to sell. 80% is not going to sell every single month. That requires a whole different skill set, doesn't it? Because
Absolutely.
now you got to go in and you got to make sure that you can communicate with a seller that, just to give you an idea, 20% of the properties are selling every month. We got 1 out of 5 that are going to sell, 4 out of 5 that aren't going to sell. So we got to make sure we, price your home accordingly. So you become the 1 out of 5, and the 4 out of 5 aren't using you to get their sold. Like these types of dialogues that you and I used to work on. That's what we need to do, adapt to change. We got to look at the new problem in the market and say, what do I need to do to deal in that market? So, inventory, getting buyers off fences right now, a little more difficult than it used to be, right? Because the buyer's sitting there, well, I don't know, prices might go down, rates might go down more. So adapting to change to me is understanding that right now, what we're going to see is we're going to see a smaller pie. And what I mean by that is we're going to see, less sales available, right now, March. So let's say our pie gets a little bit smaller. Then what happens is if we want to do the same business, we have to get a bigger piece of a smaller pie. So get a bigger piece of a smaller pie, that means we have to develop the skills to overcome the current challenges. And the challenges to me are proper pricing on listings and helping buyers get off the fence.
So we had a meeting before that, and exactly what I told them. I said, we talked about that at the buzz and that about, there was 66,000 sales. We were predicting around 75,000 sales. Now with the tariffs, probably going to come in pretty close to last year, is the way I'm looking at it. Right. So you've already had 2 years of understanding where the market's going to be. So if you just sit and do nothing, you're going to do nothing. Your clients have to understand, you want to sit on the side of the fence that's not going to sell, or on the side of the fence that's actually going to sell. So it's how they position themselves in the marketplace, how you as a real estate agent position yourself in the marketplace. So for lead generation in 2025, there's lead generation methods are changing. What innovative strategies would you suggest to some of these agents today?
Well, are they changing though? So if we say, lead generation is changing. Okay, if you're talking online lead generation, yes. But if you think about over 60% of people will find their agent through somebody they know. Over 60% of people.
That's a big fact. Did anyone know that? 60% will come through a referral, people. That's so important to understand. That's why you got to make sure you give 110% every time you have the opportunity. Right.
See, the number one question a potential buyer or potential seller is going to ask themselves is, who can I trust? So that's the question they're going to ask themselves. Well, what is the easiest way to find somebody you can trust? You either deal with an agent you've dealt with before, which is repeat business, or you go to the people that have used an agent and say, listen, I'm looking for somebody really good. And the last number I read is about 64% of people were either going to be repeat or referral business. So it is by far and away the number one strategy. So what I say to everybody is, I say, when it comes to lead generation, do not underestimate the power of your repeat and referral in your database. Because I still think today, and we work with thousands and thousands of people on this, is developing a database where you're continually bringing value to that database at least 27 to 35 times a year, and turning that database into a group of advocates that are out there selling you all day long. That's a number one source that everybody's got to master. And if they master that, they can add other revenue streams after that. But when I say, is it really changing? What I mean by that is that there's a higher percentage of people are choosing repeat referral today over than they were 10 years ago.
And I totally agree with that, because it's finding your hidden leads.
Sure.
Everybody in their database has a lot of great leads.
Yes.
They're just not servicing or following up with those leads.
Right.
And they touch base maybe once, and it's not even a conversation sometimes, and they moved on. But I think
so. This is a funny story, Daryl. I was speaking to Ryan Dice. I don't know if you're familiar with who Ryan Dice is, but Ryan Dice, he's massive in the online conversion world. Not specifically in real estate. My daughter and my wife went to his event in Vegas. I think there was 10,000 people there. And so it's called, conversion and online conversion. And I can't remember exactly what, but anyway. And this guy's huge. So I had him on my podcast, the Richard Robbins Show, about a week ago. I think we're releasing that episode next week. And so I said to him, I said, when it comes to converting leads, what is the number one thing that everybody should do? Now, listen to this answer. He said, well, here's what I realize is most people already have lots of leads that they're not converting. So he said, the number one thing I would do, I would go back the last 12 months. And this is a great exercise for everybody listening right now. I would go back the last 12 months. I would look at every old email where somebody had a question for me, every old text, every old direct message, every old lead that was sent into me. I'd get all of those leads. And then what I would do was I would send them, it said, are you still interested in buying? If you can, send them a text. He goes, all you're going to ask them, are you still interested in buying? Or are you still interested in selling? He goes, that's it. That's it. He goes, and then you do that every 30 days until they say no, right? And then you just take them out of that database. And he said, if you do that simple thing every 30 days, he goes, you will start to convert leads, because there's going to be some people who respond and say, yeah, actually we are. Or maybe in a couple months. But he said, don't overcomplicate the email. He said, it's as simple as that. Are you still thinking of buying? Are you still thinking of selling? Now, think about this. This is probably the number one online lead conversion teacher in the world. And he said, that would be my number one strategy. And he goes, I would do it every 30 days.
Right. That's what I say. When I used to shadow Freud Candelera, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Make it simple, but you have to take action and commitment daily to do that. Yeah. So, mastering your conversations, because there's going to be a time when you're going to actually have a conversation. So you have to have a high interest rate environment. When scripts or approaches should agents use to handle these? Because lots of times agents don't know how to handle a conversation. Yeah. Are you thinking about buying or selling? No. And they move on. Right. But lots of times that someone says, I'm just curious. I'm just looking. And they get stuck there.
Right.
That's what you teach: scripts, dialogues, follow up. And I think that's what they have to be masters of.
Sure. It's about creating conversation.
And be masters of the follow up.
Yes. 100%. Right?
So Rich and I were in a mastermind group, and every day, 5 days a week, we would role play our scripts and objections. And on Friday was objection handling. And it was crazy. It was, became masters of our domains.
Yeah.
So for business growth, and I say this is opportunity. What's one key strategy agents should focus on if they want to double their business? Now, 3 months are gone. So now they've got 9 months. So let's say in the next 9 months.
Well, I would say the number one strategy is, and it was funny. I had a call with all of our coaching members yesterday. Twice a month, we do a group call. They do their one-on-one calls as well with their coaches, but I do this group call. And what I try to do is I try on that particular call to keep everything real time. Like, what do they need to know right now based on what's going on in the marketplace? And I said, listen, a lot of things, like if you start farming today, it's going to take you a long time to get that going, right? So I look at it and say, so what could you be doing right now, especially if you're not as busy as you would like to be, which unfortunately a lot of people are, right? They're not quite as busy. So I said, what I'd be doing is I literally would commit 2 hours every single day. And those 2 hours would be something called triple play. I call it a triple play. And what a triple play is where you pick 3 sources of reaching out. That's what the triple stands for, 3 sources. So maybe it's phone calls, okay? Maybe it's text, and maybe it's emails. And what I would do is I would say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out proactively, not responding to everybody else, but I would proactively start reaching out. So I'd say, I'm going to do 5 calls, I'm going to do 5 texts, and I'm going to do 5 emails every day, right? Sending out messages about converting them into a lead, finding out what they're up to. And imagine, Daryl, and you know this better than anybody, that if right now you're not as busy as you want to be, and let's say this, Daryl, this is an example. Let's say that what you decided to do is you're going to double down in marketing, because that's all I'm talking about right now. And I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but boy, if we're not as busy as we want to be right now, that's what we got to be doing. Now, let's say, Daryl, that what you did is 5 days a week between now and the end of June, that what you did is you made 5 proactive calls a day, 5 proactive emails a day, 5 proactive texts a day. And then what you do is you pick another strategy that maybe open houses. Listen, if we got a lot of listings right now, is that an opportunity to do more open houses?
Opportunity is there every day.
Unbelievable, right? So now say, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an open house. I'm going to do an open house Thursday from 4 to 6:30. I'm going to do an open house Saturday, and I'm going to do an open house Sunday. Now, if you did that in the morning, you did your triple play 5 days a week. And let's say what you did is you committed between now and the end of June to do an open house Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Daryl, by the end of June, do you think you'd be making money? Lots of money. So here's the issue. The issue is this, is that if we're not where we want to be because the market's not where we want it to be, and by the way, I am sympathetic to everybody. It's difficult, I know, for a lot of people right now. It is. I get it, right? We're all in the same place. We're all dealing with the same real estate market. However, don't allow the market to determine what you're thinking. Allow the market to determine what you need to do. What do you need to do? And if you don't have enough leads right now, then guess what you need to be doing? Generating leads, generating leads, generating leads, generating leads, generating leads, because they're not falling from the sky anymore. And you master that one skill right there, and you now own your future. You own your future, because I promise you, most people will never do that.
That's the thing. No one is committed to doing the necessary work, start to finish. They just want to just wait for it to show up. You and I both know today, it's not just going to show up. That's just not happening.
No, the sort of the easy deals are gone, right?
That's what Mr. Keller Williams says. The easy deals are gone. And I couldn't agree more. Right? All the low hanging fruit is not there right now.
Yeah.
So I believe that everybody, and I mean everybody, has so much potential sitting right there, whoever they know, but they're not following up. Like you just said, you thinking of selling? Simple. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Because most people have lots of people. They're not touching base. They don't know what to say to them. So keep it simple. So the power of coaching. Now you're one of the top coaches in the business, and I've known you a long time. I respect you, and I'll always, refer people, they need a coach. I'm going to tell them to go to you. What does a top coach do for an average agent? Because I don't think they don't have that guidance.
Right. So there's a big difference between coaching and training. So to me, training is an event, right? You show up, you learn something, and then away you go, go figure it out. So here's the analogy I would use, the difference between coaching and training. Let's say I was trying to teach you how to ride a bike. I would say to you, if I was training you, I would say, okay, Daryl, what you're going to do is you're going to, throw your right leg over top, and you're going to get your pedal on the right side at the top, and you're going to put your foot there, and then you're going to push that pedal down really hard. The bike's going to start to move, and then you're going to balance yourself on the bike, and then you're going to put your other foot in the other pedal, and you're going to just start pedaling, and you'll be fine. Well, I don't know if you'll be fine or not. You might make it, you might not make it, right? But what a coach does is, there is a training element to it, obviously, but what a coach does is they're running beside you as you're trying to ride the bike, right? And they're making recommendations along the way. Because the challenge is so many of us, because of the bird's eye view a coach has when they're looking at you and they're looking at your business and they're listening to you, they can make subtle adjustments to your activities, your path, your schedule, your presentations, whatever it is. And when I say subtle, no major changes usually need to be made. All we have to do is we've got to make minor changes along the way, so we're moving towards our target. Basically, what we have done as a company is we've developed a whole program, and it really encompasses 3 things. Number one, it's customized. There's 3 C's, customized. So we work with individuals based on their goals. Our coach's objective is to get to know you, understand your business, and then help you get there. And 100% of their agenda is to help you move in the direction of your goals. The second is content, and that's where the training comes in. So we do have a couple calls every month, but we also have recorded hundreds of video calls where we have trained on everything you can ever imagine, right? We had one person, she makes over $1 million a year from open houses. We got a whole training program on how to do that, how to make sure your Google page is set up that you're going to get leads, like everything. So that's the content side of things. And then the coach will guide you to the content. So you can do a lot of the learning instead of on the coaching call, do the learning, but you can do the learning on your own. And then the third part is the community. And that's where we refer a lot of business back and forth within our community. So you take customized, you take unbelievable content, which is a training component, and then you surround yourself with a bunch of like-minded people. Good things happen.
They got to show up and be accountable.
Yep.
Right. See, I think the difference with coaching is they're paying a coach like your Richard Robbins group to coach them. So there's more accountability. I think when they don't have anything in it, they're not accountable. They just don't have enough skin in the game.
Well, unfortunately, Daryl, the industry doesn't set up agents for success. You really think about it.
You know that clearly, and I know
when
that
when you get a real estate license, what do they teach you about building a business and selling? Zero, right? And over 80% of people will fail in the first 5 years in this industry, which is terribly sad if you think about it.
Yeah, because they spend a lot of money and everything else.
Yeah, and they don't make it. And I think that's why, if you look at the coaching industry, because there's obviously many people in the coaching business now, that it's done exceptionally well, because it's an added component that agents need to succeed. And you're right, there is a level of accountability with that. It's funny, I was recording a podcast earlier today with my daughter. She's my co-host on the Richard Robbins show. And so I said to her, I said, Jay, her name's Jamie. I said, Jay, you're in sales for our company. She's marketing sales. I said, how often do you send a sales report to myself? And she goes, every week. I said, exactly. And I said, and by the way, just, if you were a salesperson for any other company, you would have to send a sales report. So now let's think about real estate. How often do agents send sales reports that show, what behaviors they perform this week and what results they produce? And they generally don't. And
some do, some don't. You have that struggle constantly.
But that's where accountability comes to the table, because, as Peter Drucker said, what we measure gets improved.
So, high performance habits. What daily habits separate the top 1% of agents from the rest?
Well, I think one thing for sure, I really think that, and maybe this isn't the case with all top performing agents, but I think number one is some form of exercise. I see a lot of top performing agents, they're really starting to look after themselves physically. Especially, I find newer agents really tend to do that. The second thing, I would say, they major in majors, they don't major in minors. What I mean by that is there's only a few things you can do that's going to make you money, right? You're either generating business, you're following up, you're on a listing appointment, or you're showing property. That's it. So if you spent 80% of every day doing those 4 to 5 things, you're going to be really productive. And that's what I mean majoring in majors, where I think the other agents, they major in minors. They get caught up in busy work all day, right? And scrolling feeds and all that sort of thing. So I think, to a large degree, the biggest thing is just what they do all day long. It's just focusing on the major things. And I know you're like this, Daryl, but if you think about it, our success in real estate is going to be determined by how many appointments we go on every week, right?
Every day.
Every day, yeah. And think about it. I call them the Fab Five, right? Not the Fab Four, that was the Beatles, but in the Fab Five. And you got listing appointment, you got pricing a house, which can be different from a listing appointment. You got showing property, you got meeting with a new buyer to do a needs analysis, and you got meeting with a seller to adjust the price was not priced right. That's the Fab Five. Now, if you're on 1 or 2 of those every day, you're going to do really, really well. So the whole thought process is, every morning when you wake up, you got to think to yourself, where can I get an appointment today? Where can I get an appointment today? Where can I get an appointment today? Because your eyes will only see and your ears will only hear what your brain is looking for. And so if you focus on that, think, where can I get one? And then whether it's a phone call, an email, a text, or whatever, video message, and then focus on setting one face-to-face appointment every single day. And that's what I see a lot of top agents do.
That's what I used to work on, 3, 2, and 1. 3 hours of prospecting, 2 appointments a day, and 1 sale every day.
Yeah.
That's what I based my career on. So simple. So market downturn, what markets take a downturn? Like the first thing agents should do to protect their business, continue growing, because as you said earlier, there's so much noise. There was the political thing, there was the interest thing, now the tariff thing.
Yeah.
Is not to focus on all that noise. And I
Right.
think that's where most people totally get caught up in that. And they put in their mind, they're just listening to that drunk monkey or all that white noise. Like if we listened to COVID when it was happening, I remember it coming in, 90 people in the office and there'd only be me and my assistant in here. I'm right on Yonge Street. There would be maybe 1 car go by every hour. It was so like scary. But some of us had our best years then, right?
Yeah.
We just put out the white noise, had to wear the gloves, the mask, and boots, whatever, but we did it. So it's overcoming and finding ways. Listen, people still want to buy, people still want to sell, people still want to invest. That hasn't changed, and it's not going to change for another 100 years, right? Everybody wants to have a roof over their head. Not everybody wants to be living on the streets. There is a small percentage that do, but that's their choice, not the majority of people. So major in the majors and not in the minors. I couldn't say that better. And I always said that because most small-minded people put blame on everybody else and they don't really focus on what they did or what they didn't do to create the winning mindset or actions it takes every single day.
True.
So for client trust, right now that I think more than ever, and you hit it where 60% of the business is done by referral.
Right.
Right? How do people win clients' trust? What would you say were a couple simple steps to help them win that client trust?
Well, think about sales this way. So sales to me, and this is my definition of sales, sales is influencing somebody to make a decision that's in their best interest. That's what sales is to me. And the most powerful influencer in the world is education, not selling, education, because selling to me is just helping. That's all selling is. We're just trying to help somebody make a decision that will best serve them. So the first thing, if I was on any presentation today, or I was on a phone call with somebody, I would come right out and say that. I said, okay, my job is to give you all the information I can give you to help you make the most educated or informed decision you possibly can. And so if you take that approach when you're dealing with somebody, then you have to think to yourself, what do I need to show them? What do I need to tell them so that they feel more confident in the decision that they need to make? So it's all about helping people. I call it tripping over the truth. Help people trip over the truth. So if you want people to trust you, then that's the position you have to take. And there's nothing wrong telling them that, but then you got to do that. And today we have to remember, it's not about information. It's about insights. So in other words, with AI today, there's information all over the place. People can get all the information they want. But the question is, what does it mean? How do we take that information and put it in a way that the consumer will see what it actually means? So let me give you an example of that. So let's say, as an example, that we were working with a seller, and the seller was trying to make a decision on price. Our job is to give them all the information to help them make the best decision for them. So let's say what I did is I got a line graph on a piece of paper, and I got January at the bottom, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all through it. And then on the vertical column axis on the left side, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that stands for months of inventory, right? And what I do is in January, how many months of inventory? February, how many months of inventory? And then I would actually put all the numbers from 2024 on there as well, maybe even 2023. That's just one cool little graph that I could create that wouldn't take me very long. AI would do a great job in this. And then you take something like that, and you could also do this, by the way, with number of sales, right? Another piece of paper, number of sales. You could also do with days in the market. Because when you say to somebody, there's 4.7 months of inventory, what does that mean to them? Nothing.
They don't, nothing.
But when you show them that a year ago at this time, we had 2.5 months of inventory, and then it went to 2.6 or whatever, you know what I mean? And now you show them. Never tell somebody what you can show somebody. Very important. And you show them what's happening. When you show them days in the market have been going up. And when you show them that 20% of the listings are selling every month and 80% are not, show them, don't tell them. And then you say to them, what we have to do when we price your house is we have to look at who would be our 4 to 5 greatest competitors when we go to market. And we have to price your home in a way that they'll choose you and not one of your competitors. And then you show them, don't tell them, you show them those perfect comparables, if you can find them. And then after you've done all that work, then you say to them, where do you think you need to price your home if you want to be the 20% that are going to sell this month? So all you're doing is not selling anybody, you're educating people. And when you put them in a position of power, because they want to make their own decisions, you just have to make sure they have all the information so they see exactly what you see, and that'll help them come to the right conclusion. So to me, the whole concept of sales is help people understand, I am here to give you all the information so you can make the best, most educated decision for you. And if you do that, through the process of selling their home, through the process of helping them get in the next home, through the process of what's going on in closing, how can you help them with that? Right? As we're 2 weeks coming up to closing, do you send a document to them telling them everything that's going to take place? Like these are all systems that we have created as a company, right? Everything that's going to take place. Then they move into their home. What is your communication after you've been paid to help them? When you think about these people that way, that your job is to continually serve them, then trust will be built. You don't have to worry about a thing. It's done. But if you're using them as a pawn in your chess game, just to make money or just to get a deal, well, guess what? Because trust, you don't have to tell somebody to trust you. Trust is a feeling you get. And we've all had that feeling before. And It's when your intention is truly about helping them.
Repeat referral business is the highest source of business that you're going to achieve.
Sure.
And a lot of times that you're going on presentations, and it's not today, it's been forever, that lots of people just tell them everything they want to hear.
Right.
When you go to a doctor, you don't really want to hear what the doctor wants to tell you, but you just don't like to hear what he's saying. And it's a lot like that. So people have this fixated number of their house is worth, say, 1.5 million. They don't want to hear their house is worth 1.3. They want 1.5. So there's lots of people that just tell them what they want to hear. But as you just said, they can't back it up. They can't show them facts and figures that can back that up to back up their case. Right? So it's a lot of talk. And I always say talk is cheap. Action is better than talk. So have proven track records, testimonials, and happy clients that, call them and see what they think, tell you what they're going to hear, right?
Agreed.
So, I think today more than ever, especially you say have chat and everything else like that, that thing can do a lot of things for you, but it doesn't replace who you are. That's why you have to be careful. I'm still old school, and I know you are in some ways, that face-to-face, communicating with them daily or weekly or monthly or yearly, but you still need to stay in touch before and after.
Yes.
So, I just had a closing the other day and I said to Trace, I said, what's the number? I'm like going like this, but I want to make sure I call them and touch base with them. They were very
Yeah.
happy. We did a great job for them. And they were like so excited. And, I called the other agent, but I missed his call. So I called both the agents and the clients just to say, how was the move and everything good? You're happy. And, follow up. And then is a good opportunity. Who do you know that is looking to buy, sell, or invest? Because now they're
Agreed.
happy. They just had their transaction. It just closed. And having
Yeah.
a closing today is like, woo, right?
Yeah.
Look at the assignment sales. There's tons of them.
Well, and we have to remember this. And again, if somebody's interested in listening to this, you can go to the podcast, but it's the Richard Robbins Show. And I interviewed Robert Cialdini. I don't know if you heard of Robert Cialdini, but he wrote the book called Influence. He's actually called the godfather of influence. He wrote another book called Persuasion. And so he teaches the 7 different strategies of how to influence a human being, sales strategies, right? And they're all scientifically based. So this isn't anecdotal. This is like real science. Anyway, he said, when I was talking to him on the podcast, he said, you have what he calls a moment of influence when somebody says thank you to you. So if anybody ever says thank you to you, so let's say you drop off a closing gift, you phone them up, just wanted to get moved in. Oh yeah, thanks so much. You guys did a great job, Daryl. The moment they say thank you, you have a moment of influence. And what I mean by a moment of influence, that's where you can ask a favor. Because if they just said thank you to you, he said they feel compelled if you asked to do something for you. And that's when you would ask for referral in that moment. And what I would suggest to everybody is that during the day, we all have these moments of influence where somebody is thanking you for something that you have done. And that's, if you're going to make an ask, whether it's a Google review, whether it's ask for a referral, testimony, whatever, that's the moment you ask for right then. Because they feel compelled to comply to your request because they've just said thank you to you. It's a form of reciprocity is really what it is.
Timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
I always pre-program my clients from the beginning that, if there's one thing that I can do, if I can do what we say we're going to do and exceed that expectations, if you can just give us a testimonial afterwards. And sometimes, it could take longer or whatever the case, but they get tied up. So you just have to make sure that you follow up and again, wait for that thank you or whatever to get that opportunity.
Yes.
Because it's important. If they're happy with you, it's going to go a long way. So I always know myself, I'm going to give 110% every single day, every time I get the opportunity. So I don't think anyone will outwork me or out hustle me to go do whatever I need to do. They may out talk me in some things, but let's talk about results. So, real estate is and I guess any type of sales or whatever it's work, life, and balance. So you ran a very successful real estate company. Now you run a very successful real estate coaching company. I mean, you were here and now you're like here, you're massive. So in real estate can be an all-consuming business because sometimes you're a psychologist, sometimes you're consultant, sometimes you got to be the negotiator. What's your best advice for maintaining balance while scaling a successful career? Because one thing I've always admired about you got a beautiful wife, you got beautiful kids, now you got beautiful grandchildren, and you never strayed away from that. I mean, you were so true to that family business, like even when you were selling real estate, not just coaching. How do you maintain and some advice that you would give to others?
Well, thank you for saying that, Daryl. I appreciate
Well,
that.
I love Sue, and I love Jamie, I love your son.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids,
I'm definitely, family's number one.
Yeah.
I wasn't always really good at it, Daryl. When I first started selling real estate, to be honest with you, like I was 24 years old. And I'd say for the first 7, 8, 9 years, I struggled a lot and my whole life was work. And I had some things happen after I met my wife that caused me so much pain because I was working too much that I just decided that's never going to happen again. And you know, it's just, I wasn't being a good husband. I wasn't being a good father for the first couple of years that my daughter was born. So I just made a massive change and I said, I book my time off for my time on, period. Because see, I like to work. I really do. Like, you know, everybody goes, when are you going to retire? I go, retire to what? Like, I sort of like my life, right? I go, it's,
I'm
I
getting
like
my golf in, I'm getting my family in.
yeah, I've got a very well balanced life. I've got a wonderful team that we have built. Um, so, but I literally to this day, because I don't fully control my schedule all the time, like people will book stuff for me. So what I do is I go into my Outlook and I literally block all my time off first. So if you went in right now and looked at my calendar for the next few couple months, you'd see, you know, you'd see Friday afternoons fully blocked off, right? Obviously weekends, I don't work weekends. Um, and I just put in VIP time, right? So that's my time, VIP, which means nobody can book on that VIP time that has any control over my schedule at all. And I started doing that when I was in real estate many years ago. So what I used to do is back then, you know the deal, Daryl. We used to have to go to people's homes to do offers. Like you
Everything.
offer, it was crazy, right? Back and forth, back and forth,
3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, no problem.
Oh yeah, it's so much, you know, easier now with technology than the way it was before. But what I literally would do is I would just, you know, block off. But let's say, and this is probably decent advice for people to hear, is that you're not always going to have balance. There's times when you have to grind, but I always say when you have to grind, tell your family right now, I have to, you know, I'm committed to this. I got to get this done. It's going to take me a couple days or whatever the case is, right? But let's say that so Friday night, my wife and I have our date nights, you know, and let's say if something comes up in my schedule, this doesn't really happen much anymore, but back in the day,
Then you're
I
hustling.
said to my wife, I said, okay, listen, I can't do Friday night this week, but you don't delete it, you replace it. So can we do Thursday? Can we do Saturday? Same with, if you look at my schedule, it shows when I work out every day, right? When I do my review and reflection time. So I literally block all that stuff off first. So I always say, block your time off before your time on. And then take what time you have left and then say, okay, what's going to be my lead generation marketing time? That's the first thing you should put into your calendar in real estate. So I'm going to do that from 10 to 12 every day or whatever the case is. And that's when I'm going to do my follow-ups, when I'm going to do my triple play. It's when I'm going to phone my past clients. You know, it's when I'm going to, whatever, like whatever your marketing is that you're going to do in that period of time and put that in first. So now you've got your personal time blocked off. And then you put in your lead generation and follow-up time. And then everything falls in after that. But keeping in mind, it's not always going to be perfect. And the other thing I do highly recommend is that this is actually one of our coaches, Bill Parnaby's idea. But I think agents should, first of all, you need a full day off every week. I believe that. I believe you need 24-hour period off where you can actually rest and recharge and not feel like you're, you know, on all the time. And then I like to see, at least our recommendation is I like to see people take a long weekend every month. So every single month, try to take a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe even a Monday, and you know, go away somewhere or have a staycation, whatever you want to do. But plan something, right? Don't just sit around and do nothing, but plan what am I going to do with that time off, and then a week every quarter. And I say if you can take 24 hours off every week, a long weekend every month, and a week every quarter, that's a really good start. But the secret is to do it and do your best to find a partner or somebody that can take your calls when you're off. So you literally can be off for that period of time. And I promise you this, you take a full 24 hours off every week, and then you will come back, you will be rested, you'll be way more productive when you get back into the office just by doing that. And by the way, you deserve it. You absolutely deserve to have that time off.
You ever get an 8 hour sleep or you get a 3 hour sleep? How do you feel the next day? Right?
Oh, I think sleep is, you know, so my coach is Joe Polish. I don't know if you ever heard Joe Polish.
Of course, I know Joe very well. I spoke with Joe Polish. Oh, it's funny. I meant to have on stage. I was going to show you before we started. I had the picture of me, you, and when I spoke with Tony Robbins at the Real Estate Wealth Expo. I'll send it to you after this and I'll put it out there. I just came up a couple days ago that me and you at the front of the stage there.
Oh yeah,
I bet you have it right.
yeah. And so Joe said something to me one day. He said, try to find the problem that, if solved, would solve 10 other problems. Okay. And we
There it
got
is right
chatting
here.
about it.
Can you guys get that on the screen? That's Sue and Richard was doing the real estate wealth expo.
Oh yeah, that's a Tony Robb. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. Yeah. And so Joe said, find the problem that, if solved, would solve 10 other problems. And so anyway, we were talking about that, and he said, so just imagine this. Imagine that if you started getting the right amount of sleep every night, 6, 7 nights a week. He said, how many problems would that solve for you? Think about it. He goes, first, it's probably going to solve some health problems for you. You're going to be less irritable, and you can go on and on about that. And I got to think about it. He's so right. Like, if you just got enough sleep, that's going to solve a lot of other problems. And then I thought, well, think about real estate using that whole theory. What could you do? What problem could you solve that would solve 100 other problems or 10 other problems? So let's say, I'm just picking stuff, but let's say you have financial problems, you have cash flow problems, you're worried about money, you're worried about the tariffs because, it might slow things down or has slowed things down. So you have all these financial worries. What is the one problem you could solve that would solve all those problems? Doing what we talked about, Daryl.
100%.
Right? Triple play. Like, so it was funny. I was thinking about that. I said, it's so true. Like, if you want to solve your financial problems, become a master marketer and lead generator. You will solve all your financial problems.
And you can do it very quickly. In 30 days, I tell anybody, that's why they have 90-day productions or whatever. You can change things very quickly. And it doesn't like happen in one day, but within 90 days, most stuff in real estate pays off in 90 days.
Yes.
You can solve most of your problems in 90 days, but you got to be fully committed, dedicated to it. And I think that's the biggest failure that most people, like, you're trying to lose weight, you go to the gym or you go on your little diet and it lasts for a day or two or a week and then you fall off, right? Well, I've lost some weight myself and it's a hard commitment because I like to eat and lots of times I go home late and I'm bored. So if I'm bored, I eat. If I'm happy, I eat. I'm excited, I eat. Whenever all my emotions eat. Some people have certain emotions they won't eat. I just want to eat in every emotion. So it's a trouble. So, and especially have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
Go to the keg, you want a Billy Myers ice cream. So I still give myself that I can have that opportunity, that I'll have that cheat moment. But, I'm watching every single day and not getting too far off the rails.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what happens is lots of people don't have a goal. They don't have a direction and they have a win and then they just go way off the rails. And you and I both know you got to keep the line short, not so high and low, because they just drift. Like if you do any boating and you're out in a deep waters and you don't have a compass or something, and you get lost, what are you going to find your way back?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do in their business. They don't have that focus. They don't have that commitment. They don't have a goal. They don't even know where they're going. They're just drifting away aimlessly.
Right.
So I know I have you to two. So I love talking to you. The best way to get ahead in life is talk to people that are inspirational and know more than you know. Right. So I'm going to ask you two questions, biggest lessons and final advice before I cut you loose. I got 6 minutes. So if you could say, after coaching thousands of agents, what's the single biggest mistake you see agents make and how can they avoid it?
I think conditioning. Okay, so here's what I believe to be true. I think a lot of people don't think they can make it. I think a lot of people don't deserve they can make it. They don't believe in themselves. I think that's a very common consensus out there. And they might not say it outwardly, but they have this self-doubt inside. So what I say to everybody is that the people you associate with are going to have a dramatic effect on your life. It's like the old saying, you hang around with 4 millionaires, you will become the fifth, right? You can't fly with the eagles when you're always walking with the turkeys. And the reason I say this is because if you want to change the belief that you have about the possibilities for yourself, get around people that are already doing more than you, and you'll realize they're no different than you. There's an old saying that says, I hope you never met your hero because you'll be disappointed. And what that means is we look up on a pedestal all the time to these people. And I've had the good fortune of meeting many of my heroes, like many of my heroes. And you know what I discovered with all my heroes? They're no different than me. Like, you think you're going to meet them, they're going to go, oh man, this person's unbelievable. And actually you meet them, you go, they're about as normal as you're going to find. They got the same bloody problems, same problems I have, the same frustrations I do. They just handle them differently. So what I would ask people to consider is get around people doing more than you. I can name inflection points in my life that were caused by certain people I met, right? And I mean, when I got around these people, it changed my belief about me. And that's the most important belief you'll ever have, is a belief you have about yourself. So make an effort. That's why, you know, when people come to my events, I always say, try to meet 5 people every day when you're at an event. You never know who you're going to meet. One of our coaching members, Daryl Timmons, I was doing an interview with him recently. And he said the first time after he became a coaching member, he came to one of our big events. I think you've been to every one of them, Daryl. And the third day we have something called Members Day, and that's just for our coaching members after the big paid event. And he said, I sat down the first time at your members event, and he goes, every single person at that round table is making over $500,000. He goes, at the time I was making like 60. He said, I was, why am I even here? Like, and all that. Well, Daryl Timmons today, after being with us for 6 years, did 133 transactions last year, right? He's killing it. He's now doing 7 figures, right? And he said, and that's what he said in the interview, he goes, I'd honestly say to you, if I hadn't sat down at that table that day and got to spend, 6 hours masterminding with those people, he said, because the more I spent time with them, the more I realized, man, if they can do it, I can do it too, because they're no different than me. So get around the right people. And I find when you do that, you'll be influencing those people and you'll start to believe in yourself more.
Oh, well said. I love that because, growing up and, you're successful in real estate. I've been successful. But, even when sometimes your closest friends will tell you, what are you, stupid? Why you keep going back to these things? You already did it. You're already doing it. Yeah. And they don't understand that you have to continue to have growth. You have to continue to get rid of that drunk monkey, because the drunk, I don't care who you are, that drunk monkey is going to sit on your shoulders and or your friends, or you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. So being about people that are like-minded in belief and their continued growth is the only way to continue growing. So that's why even to this day, I still believe in being coached and listen to people. You're a great friend and a great mentor. And, we grew up in the trenches together, but you're doing full-time coaching. So I'm always happy to listen to you and ask for advice. So before we cut you loose, I got 2 minutes. Final advice you could give, one piece of advice to an agent looking to dominate in 2025. One thing that maybe they could just grasp it and run with it for the rest of this year.
I'm going to say, and I know this sounds simple, but it's not simple, because most people, I don't think, do enough of it. Always be learning. So there's an old saying that says, for the person not willing to learn, you can't help them. For the person willing to learn, you can't stop them. Now, it sounds easy advice, right? Always be learning. But my question would be to everybody is, how many minutes or hours a day do you spend learning something new? Whether it's listening to a podcast, for an hour every day, maybe when you're going for a walk, reading audiobooks, reading books, going to seminars. I think one of the most powerful things is learning. And the reason I think it's so powerful is because, yes, you learn, but I also believe that when you hear an idea, it inspires you and it gives you hope of a better future. and hope of a better future, I think, is one of the most powerful forces on the world for human beings.
Well said. I always say, if I'm not learning, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And, 34 years in the real estate business, I spend at least an hour watching podcasts. I used to read a lot, but I'm a slow reader. So now it's so much easier. I can watch your stuff or some other things, maybe not even related to real estate. But every day when I go home at night, that's when I'm in my office. I watch a little bit of my sports and I'm listening and just getting ideas and thoughts to continue to keep my brain, my mental state of mind strong. Because, if you just dump it in with the sharks, you can either be eaten with them or swim with them,
Yeah.
right? I'd sooner swim with them than be by eaten,
Yeah.
right? So I want to take this moment, and I know this is a big thing for us, you to come on and with your time as being so valuable. I sincerely want to thank you on myself and everybody else that's on the podcast today, sharing the mindsets. I'm going to stay on here for another half an hour if anyone's got any questions, but I promise Rich, I only keep him on here for an hour. So if we can all give Richard a great big roaring applause. Woo! Right? I'll probably listen to this more than anyone I know.
Yeah.
Right. And I know some of my people couldn't be here today. So I said, yeah, we'll make sure it's recorded. They can listen. We'll send you a full recording of this, Rich. And
Excellent.
Let's get to a hockey game or to a baseball game when you're up here, and we got to get some golf in.
Okay, my friend.
So
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Say hi to Sue for me. Wish her the best.
I will.
We'll see you when you're back. And thanks again. We love it.
Okay,
So
look forward to it,
We're staying
buddy.
on here. Everybody just say goodbye to Rich, but we're staying on here live to answer any questions you may have. All right. Was that good, guys, or what? Woo! I'll tell you what. I've known Richard for, like I say, 30 years. We used to belong to a mastermind group. And, in our mastermind group, we had, I think, I don't know how many were there, but we had probably, well, in the top 100 with any company, we had probably at least 20 or 30 of them in that group. So it was a very powerful, and we did all the things. Can I take this off now? So now I can, oh, that's better. Ooh, get a little hot under here. So, every day I always feel blessed, and it's so important. Come from gratitude, because every day there's someone else that, we had someone here as a guest. Her mother's in the hospital. She had to run. It was unfortunate because she came all the way from Mississauga. She got all the way here, and her niece called her and said, you got to go see mom, whatever. So boom, gone. But, I always wish everybody the best. Always listen, be kind to everybody. There's lots of people that going through struggles. Life is not always easy. My nickname is Lucky. Sometimes I'm lucky as hell, but there's lots of drama and things I got to deal with. And I'm sure everybody else, you have kids, you have spouses, you got family. So you can agree to disagree many, many times, but don't argue. Just trying to listen. And everything, there's a problem, find a solution. And that's what I've always believed in life. When I started in this business, interest rates were 21%. So I believe that what can I make, because no one could afford 21%. So I found a way that I get the sellers to pay down the mortgages down 10%. And I was very successful. Number one in the office and then top in the company at that stage. So it's finding solutions. What is the solution? Because really, he talked about, yeah, we're all in sales, but it's finding out what's important. That's why I always say, you can say you're number one, but we're really number two because the clients are always number one. You always want to find a solution and an answer for them. I go to a doctor. I want him to find an answer, a solution for me, right? My dentist, I want him to clean my teeth. So what is that thing? And everybody's faced with something else. So who might have a question that's online or here today that would like to ask the question that maybe you want to ask Richard, but I can answer it for you, or we can email him later and I can get that answer. Daniel, what do you have to ask? You must always come from question, guys. Any seminar I went, I was always the very front row, and I always had questions. Like that was just part of my DNA that I want to know. I want to know because and people don't want to ask questions many times because they feel centered out. But by answering a question with many people, that's why I don't always like just one-on-one training. I always like group training. Pardon me, my throat's a little harsh here. Because you asked that one question, but you're answering it for everybody else. Right? So Daniel, you must have a question. You do. Think of a question you want to ask. One question. Well, first of all, you have to find a client that wants your help, right? So unless you've got a database, and everybody here in this room and everybody that may be online, should have a database. You have leads. You should be touching out to those people. If you've got 100 leads, if it's say you got 120 leads. So that means you got to talk to those leads like 10 a month, even whatever. But I think you should make 30 contacts every single day, whether you email them, phone them, door knock them, whatever it is. 30 contacts. It's a contact sport. I used to make 100 contacts per day, and it used to take me 8 hours. We didn't have no cell phones that I could just, I could just text them, whatever. Everything was that old rotary phone. And I'd sit in my corner in my little office, and because in my little office, in my old office that I had a little area this big. I had a little wall there and a little thing there, and I could sneak in here. It wasn't too big, like the cubicles we have in the back. It was no bigger than that. And I would just take the phone book and I would just call people. That's it. Simple. And you could ask them two simple things. Are you thinking about buying? You thinking about selling or investing? Simple. Now we have other things you can say, but if you just want to keep it real simple, but you need to do enough of it, because I started at a young age that I had to get 99 no's to get to one yes. Well, I was one of the top realtors in all North America. I was to 19 contacts to a sale. Think of that. I went from 199 no's to a yes to becoming 19 contacts to an actual sale. That takes a skill. So, every day in every way, you need to improve your level of skill. Listen, when I was brand new, what did I know? I didn't know a lot, but I always, I was outstanding in whatever I did and competitive. So I didn't know anybody in real estate. My family wasn't in real estate. I didn't know anybody in real estate. So I didn't have any coach. So I had to work a lot. I used to work 7 days at that time, 7 days, and probably put it in 10, 12 hours a day. Right. And, that's why it's good. I always say to take one day off. And then Richard said the same thing. Take one day off. Right. Because you need to recharge your mind, your body, your soul, everything. You feel more fresh. You're going to get that sleep. Some of them just came back from holidays. Now they're probably tired from being on the holidays because you're not, I went with Zach. We went down to the hockey game the other night. He was in Hawaii, 6-hour time difference. So he's still a little, jet lagged, whatever. So drink lots of water, build up that stamina, right? So you need to just being able to just have one day, whether it be a Monday, Tuesday. It may not be Sunday because Sundays you're doing open houses. But once a month, if you got a family, okay, we're going to take the weekend off. We're going to go for a drive. We're going to go see other family. We're going to go see some friends, whatever you do. Everybody's got something to do. I like to golf, right? At my time off, I like to golf. Now, you might not like golf. I like to cycle. I like to go walking. I like to go hiking, right? So if there are the things you like to do, when you take that time off, go do it. You'll feel refreshed. You'll feel more nourished, right? Because balance, what is balance? And then he talked about that. So when he first got into business, he worked 10 and 12-hour days, 7 days a week. So when you're starting out in your business, you're relentless and you just keep pushing through and pushing through and keep pushing through. But as you become more successful, you built a database up, you built some clients up, so you can change some of your patterns. But when you're starting out, it's just like go, 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 right? So you need to make a point, and everybody here needs to make an opportunity, talk to 30 people a day, every day, no matter what. Of course, of course.
I'm a nobody, but I want you to work with me. Try to tell them why they want it. Bring something that they
Value, guys, you have to be value added, right? We have so much value that we can give them as a team. But as an individual, you still need to make your contacts. And then you bring the value. That's the whole thing, right? Value always. Like, so when I talk to someone, you know, I'm educating them, giving them value, trying, you know, because still lots of people like this one I'm trying to get, there's 3 people that are on the will, but there's 15 or 18 beneficiaries. And it's like everybody's pulling everybody in a different direction. It's like going like a rubber ball. And I'm trying to like focus in on that here's what we need to do to be successful and not sway from that, right? I can give them different options. We can do option A, we can do option B, we can do option C, and we can do option D. There's no one shoe fits all. Like, you know, you got a certain shoe size. I'm not going to put on a size 12. It might be a little big for me. And I'm not going to put on a size 8 because it's not going to get into it, you know? So what is the shoe size that fits them, right? How can they benefit? So that's what you're looking for. How can you show a benefit to them that you can help them out? That's what you need to be looking for every day. Of course.
if something sells in the area of that open house, it's not that. That's a great reason to call them. Oh, I know you were at my open house 3 weeks ago. House, you know, around the corner. I just wanted to let you know what.
Or even that one.
Again, you're just bringing value, You start to build their confidence in you. You know the street they're on, and maybe eventually they want to sell. I'd be honing in on that area. And every time something's sold in the neighborhood, oh, hi, Betty. We met at the open house. This just sold on your street. I don't know if you know, it sold for blah, blah, blah. And she could turn around and go, oh, that's my neighbor's house. It's a beautiful conversation starts with giving them value.
Rapport. So one of the greatest ways, and you guys should all be doing this, is just listen, just sold. For every just listed, you should be hitting 200 doors right around the immediate area. And then whatever, if it's 45 days later that it sells, right? It could be less, but then going to telling the same 200 people, hey, just sharing some great news. That house just sold. It got XYZ, 3-bedroom, 4-bath, whatever. People love to know what's going on. Real estate will never change. People always want to be informed. So be the information. There's good information and there's bad information, but you're sharing the information of what's going on, right? So that's why when we do podcasts and we do market shares, that you guys have that. You can share that. So each and every one of you should be putting that on all your social media, right? That you're out there and you're being the expert. The team that you're with is giving them expert advice, right? So the opportunities are endless. So who has another question? Good question, Daniel. Very good. Give me a hand. Right? Cyrus, you have a question? Come up to the microphone because I want everybody to hear.
Yes, Daryl.
That's a microphone. See the microphone right in front of me?
Yeah, which one?
Right here. Come up here, Cyrus. There's people online in that too, and they got to hear also. No, there's not. There's still people online.
So, Daryl, hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Okay. I won't sing, okay? I'm not Miley Cyrus, okay?
Look at that beautiful side. Hey, so you know what he told me last night? Because I told him happy Norez today, Norez. And he says, oh yeah, I had the 5 sticks last night. And I'm going, sticks? I wasn't catching on. It's his wife telling him, get the freaking work done that we can be ready to celebrate New Year's today. So happy Norez, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Daryl, my question is that since now spring has started, most of the agent has come out of the hibernation right now.
Yes, I've seen some
Okay.
today.
Yeah. So regarding to, because I love to do door knocking,
Beautiful.
and I want to take all the advantages what I can take regarding to the weather, no matter whatsoever it is. So what's the best area or what's the best type of house we should go start knocking a door like 200 a day?
We won't get in that on this podcast, but we can get in that deeper, right? Because it's no, guys, it's real simple. That I can walk across, there's a perfect place. Walk across the street, go down the street. It doesn't matter. It's just being out every single day and being consistent. So when I did door knocking, I used to do 5 hours of door knocking. I used to do 200 doors. That was my goal, do 200 doors. And I used to take some of the team members, and after 50 doors, they'd be like, right, tired out. So they would drop off and I would continue. Because I'll tell you what most people do, Cyrus. They start something, they do it for a day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, and then they say it's not working. Listen, if I want to get stronger, listen, if I show you a little picture, I can show you a picture with I showed them guys the other day, a picture of my little afro, my little skinny waist, whatever, right? So I was a little fit little guy, right? I was never a big guy, but I was always fit. So, you know, as I had injuries, broken legs and different things, can't work out. Like right now, the guys working in my house. I didn't do work out in my house for 2 weeks, right? Because it was a mess. So there's always something that's going to get in your way. So what are the habits that you have to create to be successful? So one is, okay, so I'm going to go out because since you enjoy it, I'm going to create that habit. I'm going to go out 3 to 4 hours and I'm going to hit 50 doors, 100 doors, 150 doors, 200 doors. That's it. Do it every single day. I can guarantee you, you're going to have a lot of happy clients and you're going to be very happy for you and your family. But you need to stay with it, not to do it for one time, right? Guys, I see the biggest failure by 99% of everybody. They start something, they try it for a couple hours, a couple days, a couple of weeks, and they say it's not working. Well, they haven't even mastered it because you got to be a master at what you do. You need to be the best. If you guys come out, I would challenge everybody, let's all go door knock and see how many doors we could get and see how many, and we can take any spot and let's see who comes out with the most appointment. I'll bet you I'm going to slam everybody because one, I have the mindset. I have the belief that I can go there and knock on a stranger's house and have a conversation with them. So one, you have to have that belief. You got a gorgeous smile. Cyrus, you dress like $1 million. You have a good personality. People like that. They're not, listen, if I come up in jeans and a t-shirt and I show up at their door, what do you think's going to happen? They're not going to want to talk to me. So I always dress for success every single day. Listen, you're a professional. Now, since COVID, dress codes dropped a little bit, but guys, and guess what? So is the business for most of the agents. We're an elite team. Let's dress for success. Always dress for success. And ever since I met you, Cyrus, you're always dressed for success. So I admire that in you, right? You always have your pins on. You always have your nail on, right? Because people don't want strangers showing up at their door. But when they see who you are, listen, I go and I got my thing. Hey, it's Daryl King. I don't know. It's Daryl King. It's Cyrus from the Daryl King team. Okay, now we'll talk. And believe it or not, most people will talk to me. They'll take me, and some people used to go in and make me lunch, want to pour me some wine. I sometimes could be at someone's house for an hour. And I'd have to say, I can come back later because I'm working. Like, it's good to bond because when you get an opportunity, it's very good to bond. But maybe sometimes I overbonded, right? So that's why I went back to the phones because I can make more contacts with the phone. But door knocking was best for my health because I was fit. I was burning off energy and calories. I remember seeing people that, I remember an old guy, Duffin and Teston, and, you know, I went in and I had lunch with him and his wife, and he said, you know, we're not ready, but I think within the next 5 years, we're going to, you know, move over they went out to roughly Pickering is what I remember. And, you know, I used to just drop them a little line once in a while over the air, just drop in and say hello. 5 years later, he said, you know, he had other agents bugging him. He said, I promise you, I'm going to give you the listing. I sold his house, and then I went personally, not, you know, I didn't send one of the buyer reps. I went and worked with him personally and sold his family a place out in Pickering. you know, and I get that lots of times. I only met them one time, but I left. Always think of this. Think of being in the sand and, you know, well, the guys that were all away are gone now, but they just come back from nice Caribbean beaches and stuff. So, you know, when you got that nice fresh sand, you put your foot in there. Think of when you put that foot mark on there and think of it's permanent, that you leave such an impact on somebody. They'll remember you 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 years, that you've impacted them with your knowledge and your charisma, because that's important, right? Always, always, always put a smile on. Always be honest. Because guys, there's no reason to lie. Because I sometimes I get embarrassed by working with some of the people that we have to work with in this industry because they're so full of shit, right? Why do you do that? You're not helping somebody, you know, this is their biggest investment. And then you're saying, yeah, you can do this and you can do that. It's not solving anybody's problems. So always be honest and treat them with respect and see what you can do for them. And I tell you, you'll have a very good living. You may not be rich, but you'll have a very good living, right? So good question. Give me a hand, right? Young man, come on. You got a question. So you went out door knocking every day, right? So what was some of the obstacles that you faced? Because you're a big guy. Like you're not a small guy. And don't take that as disrespect. That's being respectful. I mean, you got a gorgeous smile. And the first time I met you, I warmed right up to you. And I told you that I said, yeah, I see a great career with us, right? So, you know, you come with that beautiful smile. You're a good looking guy, but you're a big guy. So, you know, I'm a little guy, but I walk like a 10-foot man, right? That's how I feel in my mindset. So, you know, some people, when he shows up at the door, may be intimidated or a little frightened. So one of the things that I would tell you have to do is you have to sort of step, even me, after I was out during COVID, right? I knock on the door and I go to the bottom steps. I had my mask on and my gloves, whatever. But just step away from the door, show them who you are with hands up like this, and you got no gun or something, you know, lots of robberies today, right? So, you know,
The thing that you have that brochure that how much home be sold in the area. So you have that, I have your folder. So it shows I'm a realtor and also I have a badge, name tag. So.
And you're soft spoken.
And you say, step back and smile.
Right?
So, smile make everyone better, always. Don't say. Right?
Exactly. Right? So good point, brother. Good point. Nick, what's some of your challenges? Name a challenge there, brother. Come up to the mic. Come up to the mic. See, Nick is a bit shy, but you know what, guys, by asking questions, I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out things, and there's no dumb. And some people ask me questions, and they say, "Oh," I said, "No, questions are good. The only way, as me, and I want to give knowledge and help them, is by asking questions, right?" So there's no question. And I would say there's no question stupid. It's something you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. How can you know what you don't know? You don't. You have to ask questions, right? Always come from questions.
My question would be, how do you feel that you're consistently doing door knocking, for example, and now that you've gotten into second gear, what's that feeling?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Guess what? Guys, the hardest thing that each and every one of you can do is pick up that phone and make that first call. The hardest thing you can do is go knock on that first door. The hardest thing you can do is make that first text. The hardest thing you can do is make that first email. But if you can make that first one, bang. So that's why I tell everybody, you guys should be role playing in the morning, say if it's 9 o'clock or 9:15, is I truly believe that every one of you should be doing it. Even myself, I would love to do it, right? Because it makes you sharp. If you ever see them go play hockey or baseball or anything like that, what do? They warm up.
Practice. Yep.
They warm up. You see the hockey players out there stretching on the ice. They're skating around. They're taking shots. And see the baseball players are running on the field. They're throwing the ball and they're warming up. Basketball players are out there for half an hour shooting balls, running around. Guys, the problem with you guys is you show up at a live person and you're not warmed up. So the person that was going to do something with you, you're not warmed up. So that might have been your yes. Remember, 99 no's to a yes, but that one yes, you weren't warmed up. So you lost it. But if you were warmed up, you would have been on top of your game. So you need to warm up. You need to role play. You need to handle objections. You need to do your affirmations. These are things you should be doing 5 days a week, without a doubt. So it's part of your program. It's part of your journey, right? Because the problem is you listen to the white noise out there. Listen, I've shut all that white noise off now with the tariffs. I didn't want to hear it anymore. It's just, forget it. I listened to it, same as when COVID come. Like I was getting like depressed. I can't be depressed. If I'm depressed, how am I going to help anybody? I got to be up. So you need to work on being better fit, being able to come across better to people. Because if I go to people and I'm like this, I'm going to call them up and go, hey, hello. You want to talk to me? You know, I'm the Godfather. Right? Oh, fuck yourself. Right? No. You gotta be sharp. Listen, I didn't have a microphone for the first hour. So, I just fighting a little cough there. So my voice is a little harsh right now. So I got my little water. I wish I had another tea here to, instill that. But replenish yourself with water. Make sure you're not dehydrated, right? Be listening stuff every single day. That's why I like live meetings, because, there's people that are online, they'll get it. But when you're in live and you can feel that energy, you can feel that charisma and everything else, you're going to pick up so much more, right? So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody for being here, right? We had a very good turnout today. I hope you got some value that could help us move to the second quarter now, right? Because this is so critical. Like I said, some have done very well and others haven't started. So the next place is to start. Make sure you're filling out your worksheets once a week, because that's a guidance that you did. Richard talked about that. His daughter it's his daughter. She has to fill out her report daily and hand it to him once a week. Any sales manager or anything has to fill out their report once a week. That's simple. There's no, well, we're not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, right? So the more you do, the more that you're going to get out of it, right? Because if you're not accountable, and who you're being accountable is really being accountable to yourself. So as a leader, what's most frustrating to me is when I give out leads, which I pay for, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, and then I don't hear anything back. And then they say, oh, the lead was no good. And then I go phone the leads, and I find, say, if there's 50 leads, 10 of those leads bought or sold something. But meanwhile, we called that lead maybe once, they weren't there. No, that's it. We're done. Because you don't put value in it. Everything you do, you need to add a value to it. There's something else I wanted to talk to today, but now it's unfortunately I ran out of time. I'll have to bring it up another day, but it's very important for everybody. So anyone else have a question? Because we're going to end up now that questions. Anybody online still that wants to ask a question? I know there's still a bunch of people still online. So if you have a question, let's ask it. Anyone else? Leon, you got a question? Yeah, give one. Guys, questions are important, right? So I'm just going to go to Sophia for a minute. Sophia, when you weren't here, I was telling them that your threshold before was this big, right? You could only really do one thing at that time, and then you would feel overwhelmed. So we've been working on her mindset and her training for the last few years. So now she's become a rock star, her and her husband Oliver there. So together they complement each other. And, you know, as a mentor and as a partner, I am so proud of her and Oliver of their growth. It's unbelievable. It can't, you know how happy you are to be sitting when I am when I see that type of growth? It's like I can never want to not stop acknowledge them. You know, my sisters like me, we're workhorses. We might not be the brightest cookies always on the planet, but I'll tell you what, we'll outwork anybody with that we know. And Sophia and Oliver, you've got that part of it now that instead of being like this, hey, I can face this problem. I know how to deal with this problem. I got a solution. Let's do this, let's do that. And you guys are just knocking out of the ballpark. So just keep that going. And your numbers this year is just going to crash to the sky. And you're going to have so many happy clients that I applaud you. And I'm looking for you guys to like, just keep going. So, you know, just don't stop because you're going to get objections. You're going to get stalls. Guys, they're just little things to get through. As a professional, it's our job to be able to handle anything. So as we get more skilled, we can handle more stuff. Because before you could only handle this much stuff, and that you're a good testament to that. Seriously, her focus was this much. And now the sky's the limit. It's like unbelievable. Like if we go back and you and I could really focus and be about that. But with you and Oliver working together, you guys have got it like a fine art, a fine science, and you guys have really worked out well. So just keep it rocking, right? So, right? So that's why I say some of the team members, I'm all same thing, Diane, Chris and Vic, I mean, Alvin, they're crushing it. They're crushing it right now, right? So why are they crushing it and you're not? Because you're not doing the stuff every day to be the winner. It's not an hour a day. It's doing everything for say 8 hours a day, 5 days a week anyway. And as Rich said, probably 6. So Liam.
Yeah, I have a question that I think you can hear me, right? Yeah. My question is that there are so many noises out there about tariffs, election, everything. So our clients or potential clients could be nervous. They ask you, what do you think? Should I sell or buy first? How do you get
Here's the
them?
first thing I'm going to tell anybody.
Yeah.
And the only 2 years that I had to sway away from that was the COVID years. Because, you know, I always tell everybody anytime for over 30-year career, sell first. I can give you an idea of what I can sell your condo, your house for, your land for, but I'm not always going to be exact. I don't know what's going to happen to the market. Interest rates go up, interest rates go down. There's a tariff come in. All more houses come on the market. So everything affects your house. So let's sell your property now. Let's find out what you're looking for. So this is what we think we can get you for your house today. Say we can get you $1.2 million for your house. That's a conservative number. You know, maybe we can get you 1.3, but if we tell you 1.2 and I got you an extra 100,000, would that bother you? If I got you 100,000 extra, would that bother you? You'd be happy, right?
Yeah, I'll be happy.
So let's be conservative. Instead of me telling you I could get you 1.5 and I have no chance of getting you 1.5, I tell you 1.2 and I get you 1.3, you'll be much happier. So we're working on a 1.2 budget, and now we just made another 100,000 that we didn't expect. Well, I really did, but I didn't tell you that. So now you want to, go to a little bigger house. So your budget is up to 1.5. So we would already, since we started selling your house, now we're already starting the journey of how far would they go east? How far would they go west? How far south would they go? How far north they would go? They need 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, schools, and all the things that are important to them. Transportation, work-wise, how they get there. So then we can start immediately when we sell it. So when we sell your house, I'm going to already be giving you stuff every single day that's out there. So you'll be educated. So when we do sell your house, so we might get a 30-day closing, a 60-day closing, a 90-day closing, 120-day closing. And it's just to find out what's important. So it's being a professional, I can handle that for you. Yeah. So I always tell everybody, sell first. I'm going to tell you now, and always sell first. Because look at how many people bought assignment sales right now. Some had no intention to move into, they just bought them as investments, but they bought them up here and they're only worth this much today. And yeah, will they come back? If they close them and hold on to them, they'll come back and they'll be more than what they bought them for. But it takes time. See, if you just do it in a short span and the markets change, you're caught.
Yeah.
So the fact is, don't get caught. Buy and sell in the same market, right? So if you bought a new house, which I bought a number of new houses, 9 months or a year and a half away, so I could sell today or I can take that chance and wait till then. It depends on what your comfort zone is. Everybody has a different comfort zone. So it's your part of your job to find out what that comfort zone is, right? So it's important.
Yeah, thanks. I did. Most of the question I got is like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, listen,
so
I
very
have
fun.
9 common objections. We'll do a training with that another day. But you guys need to be masters at that, right? Thanks, Leon. Give me a hand. Amel, you got one question? Okay, come on up here, Smiley. This will be our last question because I got to let everybody go because we're only going to go to 2:30, but we'll allow her to come up and answer that.
Okay, so it's kind of a follow-up to what he asked.
Yeah.
Yes-
That's a good thing about when someone else asks a question, because you might have been asked the same question and now there might be a little twist which you're going to go into. So that's why I always like to have more groups than just one-on-one, because you can ask me that one question and then 20 people can ask me the same questions on a one-on-one. So that's why I believe in training to do it in groups, right? So go ahead.
So I went door knocking yesterday, and then one of the owners was outside, and he invited me inside.
Oh, 18 degrees, beautiful for
Yeah.
people to be outside, right? Perfect
It
day.
was great. And I got called in and he was showing me the place. It's a hot lead. The property is going to be ready in 2 weeks, but I want to find that home first because I don't want to be forced out of here and I haven't found that particular, and those are hard to come around. So we're going to look for that place. This place is paid. I don't mind putting in an offer on the property first and then selling this because I know this will sell fast. I go, you're absolutely right about that. It will sell fast
How do you know?
because they're townhomes, stats, and we know where the market's going.
So guys, so to her question, you need to know the market. It's so critical that you know the market, because as a professional, you also have market watch, but then you need to realize it's sort of a buyer's market out there right now, but there's other areas where it's a seller's market. It's not one shoe fits all. Remember I talked about shoe sizes? So it's not one shoe fits all. So no more questions. Okay, just hold on. Let me finish that. I'll come back to them. So what happens is that by knowing what the market is, so what price range is his townhouse?
800,
And in his area, how many days is it taking to sell a townhouse? In
7.
7 days. So 7 days. So Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you feel fully confident, roughly this is the price I'm telling you. Now I can't control it, but maybe the tariffs come in and the prices drop another 50,000. Are you prepared to go buy a house and you've got the financing, the withdrawal that you can handle this?
Yep.
You're sure?
Yes, it's paid off.
You've been, it's paid off.
Mhm.
So if I found your house tomorrow, you're ready to put your house on the market, knowing we need to get it sold quickly.
100%.
All right. Okay, let's go ahead. But you need to reassure them.
So in this case scenario,
Go ahead.
you would then
Of course.
start sending him properties and show him first to motivate him to actually sell his property.
I don't know if I have to motivate him because he should already be motivated.
He is
He wants to get a bigger house.
not bigger, the style.
Huh?
So from a from a
Is it a
townhouse to
townhouse?
like a side
So he
big
wants to
split.
get more of maybe a 2 acre, maybe a bungalow or something.
Yeah, something side split.
So here's the other equation of this coin. What is his realistic expectation? So let's say he can get 800 for his
Yeah.
townhouse. What's his budget to go buy?
900.
So realize he's got to pay land transfer. He's got to pay real estate fees.
Yep.
So his budget is not much more than he sells for.
No.
So where does he got to go for that? Because you can't sell and buy in the same market and get something more.
No, he's not expecting that. He's willing to pay more for the style of home that they now
Not
looking
really
for.
paying more. From 800 to 900 with real estate fees and land transfer fees, you're pretty much, you're gonna make a $50,000 difference. That's it.
Right. He's gonna have about 100K.
We're
on
not gonna have
his-
100K. You're not listening. You're,
He-
by the time you pay your real estate fees to sell his
Yes,
house,
yes.
by the time he pays land transfer on that, by the time he pays his lawyers, by the time he pays his moving costs,
Right.
it's no longer 100,000. It might be 50,000 max. So you need to educate him on that part of it too. Because if you're not doing your job.
No, no.
Because then
he-
you're putting someone on a limb. Now he's going to be short $50,000 if you think he's got $100,000 to work.
Right.
And that's why I always caution people, sell first, then we know exactly what you got, and then we can go get you some. Just take a longer closing. So that's how I would work, not how you're gonna work. I would work that let's go sell first, know exactly what you can get, because I don't know with these tariffs and everything else, whatever. I'm not bigger than the market. Then I know exactly what I got for you. Let's get like a 3-month, 4-month, 5-month closing, and we can move the closing up once we find you something. Does that sound like a better idea for you?
Yeah, but what if we don't find the property that
Listen.
I actually want to go into? I'm
Listen.
fine here. I'm
Listen.
happy here.
I've been doing for 30 years in real estate and I never put one person on the street. So you'd be no different. Everybody goes through the same thing you're going through. Exactly. Okay. Everybody. But if I do it your way, I'm not feeling comfortable. I want to make sure that I've got you secured on your sale of your house. So we know exactly what we're working with. We'll definitely, if you're realistically, and you need to find out realistic those numbers. So that means you guys need to do your homework of what he's looking to buy and what he can replace it with. Most people are not $100,000 difference, which is really only $50,000 difference. Normally they're looking, it's you know, they're going to go 1 or 200,000, $300,000 difference. So his scale of moving. So if he moves in this little area, he needs to move further out where it's more affordable. He'll get more money. Are you prepared to move 40 minutes sideways or upways or something like that?
No, his intention is not profiting. It's again, it's the type of property.
I
that
know,
he
but
wants to do.
why is he going to be able to sell his place? This one I need to educate you on that. Why can he sell his place at this number, 800, and he can go buy something at 900 in the same pocket for only 100,000? That's that much better than his.
Not necessarily better, just a different style. Yeah. I didn't ask that question.
No, but you need to ask that question.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to tell you to save you from getting in trouble.
Everything.
What-
I bought a house.
so-
I got out. This house isn't on the market yet, and the market just dies. And he can't sell it.
Look at all the condos out there. Seriously, do not put some, listen, guys, I don't care who you are. I'm going to tell you sell first. And I'm going to stick to that guns. You can do what you want, but if you want to be doing the best for him, you'll sell first and show him what else is out there and look, because the way you're going to do it, chances are you have more chance of getting in trouble for him and you.
So I did ask him the question that are you in a position, and ask him about mortgage as such, but I said, are you in a position to buy first? And he said, yes.
Yeah, but that's, everybody has a cocky attitude.
So
Can he go find that $900,000 mortgage without selling his house?
That's the-
Can he go
Yes.
pay 900,000 without selling his house? You're telling me his house is paid for. He's telling you that, but maybe there was a couple $100,000 mortgage on it. And maybe he could only get a mortgage for 400,000. So you
Got
need
it.
to find out exactly what he can do,
okay.
right? Financially. If you want to do it the correct way.
Yes.
Like I would still tell him to sell first. That would be my adamant, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank
Hey,
you.
guys, that's an incredible, great question. And you could debate it, but I'll tell you what, that you always want to make sure that you have your client's interests first instead of yourself. If you never want to get in trouble, the best way is to look after them first and advise them the right way. Yeah, it's easy that, yeah, I can sell your house, no problem. I can get you 800, no problem. But meanwhile, I go buy him and sell him a house for 900,000. And as Diane said, the market is even taking a downturn. Now I can't sell his house for 700,000, never mind 800. And who knows how long it's going to take. So what type of position is that guy going to be in? Because was he really qualified that he could afford the 900 for financing? Have I really done my job to find out? Because he's only telling me that. Has he talked to the bank? Has he talked to a mortgage broker? Guys, as professional, you need to be doing your homework and making sure that their A to Z things are covered. Because otherwise, if there's a lawsuit, the first one they're going to pick, did you give him the proper information? What did you tell him? Because your ass will be grass. Because anytime there's a problem, who's going to be at fault? Because what are you guys? You're supposed to be the professional. So you're telling this old couple that to go buy first without selling their house, and they haven't talked to a bank or a mortgage broker, that they can do it. I can promise you, more likely than not, you're going to have a problem. And but I'm just saying, but no matter what, then go get them qualified by their bank or by a mortgage broker that they can afford that if things happen, right? Because that's the key, right? Do that extra step, guys. It's so, I'm telling you, I always try and make sure I do my I's and my T's. I look at different situations. I don't look at my situation. I look at their situation. It's not about me. It's about them. Maxine, you want to ask a question? Sorry. I did. Okay, good. So I want to thank each and everybody, anyone that's still online. There's still some people there, and everybody that's here live. We went a little over time, but I hope you got something out of it. I want to thank Richard Robbins. I mean, listen, he's a very good personal friend, but I think he's also a great coach and that for a lot of people. So I really respect him in his organization. I know his family really well. I love them and I respect them. And I respect you guys for being here. And let's go with the second quarter and let's go crush it. So this is Daryl King, Sharon of the Mindsets. We are going to be signing off, and I'll be announcing in the next couple of days who our next guest will be on there, but I'm going to do it sooner than later. And I want to wish everybody a happy Norez and a happy spring and all the best to everybody. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.